with Alejandro Rojas. Open Minds Radio is your UFO news authority, presenting evidence and the latest news regarding the UFO phenomenon. Here's your host, Alejandro Rojas.
Hello, it's Alejandro Rojas, the gentleman that Mr. Dean is speaking of. That is I, and I will be your host this evening. Today we have a great show. It's kind of funny because after a couple of weeks ago, we gave Billy Meyer such a hard time. We are covering a case that is also very controversial that a lot of people get fired up about. And that is the Stan Romanek case. But we're doing something special today. We're going to have Stan and Lisa both on, and we're going to mostly focus on some of the newer, unusual happenings that have gone on. We're going to focus on this idea because, you all know who know about alien abduction phenomena. A lot of people believe, and we've talked with the people that are like therapists about this on the show before, that there's a hybridization type of program, like humans and aliens hybridizing and creating a sort of creature that is yet unknown to us because we haven't got to meet them. Some people have. But we're going to talk specifically about all of this arena and on that topic. So, and he's got some interesting things to say there. And I think a lot that you probably have not heard of. And maybe you'll, find it interesting. Maybe you won't. I don't know. It's going to be fun either way. You're going to love it. Trust me. So stay tuned. That's what's coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. A couple of other notes. If you missed this show, Travel Channel Ultimate Travel Legends of the Park, starring Alejandro Rojas. It wasn't really starring me. Maureen sent an email out saying it was starring me, and I think she was hopeful that it would. And she, believes that it should have starred me, and maybe it should have. I don't know. But I was in it for a few seconds here and there, and you can see those few seconds on my Facebook if you go to Alejandro Rojas. And don't go to the Maricopa guy. That's boring. That's Chihuahuas and stuff. Go to the journalist one. Like it, and then, read everything there. You got all my stories and stuff, and you can watch the clips of me on the Travel Channel talking about ghosts and scary things. They didn't take any of my UFO stuff. I did talk about UFOs, but I have a clip up there, too, of the San Luis Valley, the part of the show where they did talk about UFOs, and my good buddy Judy Mezzaline's on there, and Zach Bagans. Now, I got a beef with that guy because he was making fun of my buddy Judy. Judy's awesome. If you get a chance, go to the UFO Watchtower in Hooper, Colorado. It's beautiful out there, and that's why you got to watch this clip. You can see how beautiful it is at the sand dunes in Colorado. And so it's a great trip. It was always one of my favorite camping trips to go out there. So go check it out, hang out with Judy, watch some UFOs. You're going to have a good time. I also want to thank the Global Paranormal Society that had me on recently, and you can see more about them at pararocktv.com. Pararock. Cool. Sounds pretty cool. Otherwise, we have lots of cool stuff on the website, including UFO news. The website's updated on a regular basis. The latest, it's by far the best source. I can solidly say that, not just being biased, because we're careful. We comb this stuff. We don't send you anything. We send you the best UFO news that we post on our website. And then, to top it off, if that wasn't enough, we have Jason McClellan come here into the studio to tell us about that news every week. And I'm so happy to welcome once again Jason McClellan.
It is such a long haul for me to come in here every week and do the news.
Yeah. You're usually at your desk looking at pictures of Avril Lavigne.
Not all day. The majority of the day, I am combing through the piles and piles of UFO news.
Right.
And then I have to walk 20 steps to come into the studio to do this show.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of me.
Yep.
But I am happy to do it because we've got a lot to talk about, so let's do it. This is your Open Minds News Brief for Monday, September 26th, 2011. Alejandro, this has been a big story this year, not so much lately, but, I guess this past week it certainly was. Back in the headlines. This was a big story early in the year, and I'm talking about the Jerusalem UFO videos. And I'm sure most of you have seen these videos, at least one of the videos. But developments last week, Israeli TV Channel 10 investigator Nitay El-Bouim uncovered new information about the popular Jerusalem UFO videos that were recorded in January of this year. The videos made headlines around the world. However, this new information sheds further doubt on the authenticity. The first video was taken by Eligael Gadliovich, and soon after, 3 teenagers posted another video of what appears to be the same object. In these videos, a light can be seen descending over the famous Dome of the Rock, and then it flashes and speeds straight up and out of sight. So during his investigation, El-Bouim discovered that Gadliovich is a filmmaker and actor with his own film production company. El-Bouim also found Golan Ardiv, a film teacher, among the actors in one of Gadliovich's movies. And it just so happens that the teenagers who took the second video attend the school where Ardiv teaches. Although the makers of each video claim to not know each other, this evidence made El-Bouim have doubts. So he called Gadliovich to ask about his association with the teenagers. Gadliovich was very cryptic in the call, and when asked if all of this was coincidence, Gadliovich said he did not believe in coincidences and suggested that these connections may not be a coincidence. He then also mentioned that he wanted to investigate the incident, now this is weird, from a cinematic point of view. Gadliovich then said he was too busy and he would have to go. But before ending the call, he said that everything everyone was saying about the video was true. And what he meant by that is unknown. Could have been a confession of sorts, but either way, Gadliovich seemed to be caught off guard by El-Bouim's discoveries. El-Bouim then contacted the film teacher, Golan Ardiv. Ardiv said he was present when Gadliovich filmed the UFO, but that he didn't know the teenagers. When asked if the teenagers went to the school where he taught, Ardiv changed his story and admitted that he did know them. But when El-Bouim asked Ardiv if he had a chance to talk to the students about their UFO video, Ardiv said it had been busy because they're approaching final exams, so he hasn't talked with them yet. Well, to the Channel 10 investigator, this was enough for him to determine that the videos were not authentic, although he admits the motive behind the hoax is still not clear.
Yeah, I think this is all pretty damning. They seem to be caught off guard, and I'm predicting that if this television station keeps pressuring these guys, which it sounds like they're going to, we'll have a confession probably in the not-too-distant future. But one person had asked about one of the other videos, which was Americans. Remember that one? Some American tourists supposedly that were just at the Dome of the Rock. But that one was very quickly demonstrated to be a hoax,
right?
A CGI.
And you and I have talked about this through the whole ordeal since the beginning, pointing out, different red flags in each one of these videos.
Right.
Especially the one with the car full of teenagers always seemed very strange to me. There are many things in that video that are very goofy.
Yeah. I mean, so much of the teenagers driving up as if they're trying to...
It's like 5 minutes or something of just them goofing around in the car.
Mm-hmm. Until they got to the UFO. So... yeah, and it was really funny how the guy's like, oh, yeah, I do know those guys.
The phone calls were so bizarre.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't know the teenagers. Oh, you mean do I know the teenagers? Yeah, I guess I know them.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty damning, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, the conclusion of NASA's space shuttle program earlier this year led some to believe that the United States space exploration was dead. But a publication released on Friday by NASA illustrates a very exciting roadmap of exploration plans for the next 25 years. The publication, titled The Global Exploration Roadmap, was created by 14 space agencies, including Roscosmos, that's in Russia, UKSA in the UK, CNSA in China, and NASA, collectively known as the International Space Exploration Coordination Group.
Do they have outfits?
I picture them in outfits. This seems like something that they got insight from Marvel Comics on. I'm not sure. But Yeah, they are known as the International Space Exploration Coordination Group, which sounds very exciting. This roadmap builds on a previous publication, the Global Exploration Strategy, the Framework for Coordination, that was released in May 2007. According to Stan Schroeder of Mashable.com, the new publication is a vision of robotic and human space exploration within the solar system, with the premise humans may one day live and work in space, the moon, and perhaps Mars. Common goals and objectives of each agency within the International Space Exploration Coordination Group are outlined in the recent publication. This list includes goals like develop exploration technologies and capabilities and perform science to support human exploration. But the first objective on this list is search for life. Schroeder explains that the human space exploration missions outlined in the roadmap are a human mission to a near-Earth asteroid in the 2030s, a deep space habitat in 2034, and a human mission to the moon in the 2020s. The next step would be sending humans to Mars, a dream many of us would love to see come true in our lifetimes. I know that's true for me. The full 38-page global exploration roadmap can be read on the NASA website. And while this is exciting, you remind me, Alejandro, that it's nothing to get too excited about because it seems that almost monthly they come up with a new sort of roadmap.
Yeah, they always have a new plan, so.
They don't seem to know what their plans are.
Yeah.
Whatever seems to get the headlines at the time.
Yeah.
And another thing that made NASA very popular this past weekend, by the way, I didn't ask you didn't get hit by any pieces of satellite, did you?
No.
And isn't that the funniest thing? This enormous satellite fell down, and they were tracking it. There were all these live tracking sites where you could watch, and everybody was watching to see where this huge satellite with many pieces was going to fall and whether it was going to crush us or not. And then NASA said they had absolutely no idea where it fell.
That's kind of weird because they say they can track everything in space, and I don't understand how they would. I think it was Fox News or one of the media outlets even said NASA loses 6-ton satellite. How do they do that? That's so strange.
Well, and again, I think there's this illusion that we have that there's somebody, whether it's NASA or the government or somebody, who can track absolutely everything that's in our sky. And I think the real answer is we don't have any idea.
Yeah, and it could also be that they're playing dumb because of some liability. If something got destroyed, they want to pretend, oh, yeah, it wasn't us. But it's weird, and unfortunately these days, you can't trust anyone.
Well, and, we see this a lot dealing with UFOs, but as soon as this thing was supposed to have come down, right away on the internet, there seemed to be tons of videos from around the world claiming to be pieces of the satellite falling. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them looked really hokey, just cheesy CGI. And, there was some from Italy and just all around the world, people saying, oh, this is the satellite.
Yeah, I don't know how legitimate it is, but we did get a group from England that emailed us and said while they were waiting for it, watching for it at night, hoping to catch some video, that they saw this flash of light and a red beam.
Wow.
Laser beam shoot the ground next to them. So we'll probably write up, what they told us in our next magazine in the letters to the editor part.
Right. Well, if any of our listeners got any sort of video around that time that the satellite was falling, I'd certainly like to see it. I was looking for any good video. They showed a little bit on the news and didn't seem like much, and you really couldn't tell if it was a giant satellite burning. It certainly didn't show it burning up and breaking into pieces, which would be very cool to see. Mm-hmm. But, well, Alejandro, a movie is being made about the Betty and Barney Hill story. And our friend Bryce Zabel, who's been a guest on Open Minds Radio a couple times, he is the one who plans to make the definitive movie about the Hills experience. And that's according to the Huffington Post. The film will be reportedly based on the book Captured, the Betty and Barney Hill UFO Experience by Stanton Friedman and Kathleen Martin, who both have also been on the show. There was an NBC TV movie about the Hills made in 1975 that starred James Earl Jones.
Exactly. I was going to say, who is he going to find bigger than James Earl Jones? This is like one of the biggest actors out there. How do you follow up James Earl Jones?
And you certainly can't top his voice.
Jimmy Jones, exactly.
So, I don't know.
It's going to be a tough one. I feel sorry for the poor actor. Maybe they'll get Chris Brown or something.
That would be obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't top Darth Vader playing Barney Hill.
All right.
Have you talked to Bryce about this at all?
No, because it's fairly recent news, and he's been talking about lots of other stuff. He's been excited about stuff that we're doing, of course, and we're excited about stuff he's doing, but haven't talked about this topic in particular. Going to have to ask him.
Because I'm curious to see if his goal is to actually put it on the big screen. And
well,
it
I know
sounded
he's
like
got,
that was the plan.
I think so. He's got so many irons in the fire right now. I know he's really working on this kind of All the President's Men type of thing for Majestic 12 with Stanton Friedman and all of these guys. And, well, it's supposed to kind of be like their lives, but more like All the President's Men where they're looking for the info and talking to Deep Throat and all of that. So, sounds exciting.
He's a busy guy.
What is it called? Magic Men.
Magic Men, you're right. Busy guy, that Bryce.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to hear more about that from him because that'll be a cool movie if they get it. I'll go in the theaters and see that.
Yeah, for
Sweet.
sure.
Yeah. Well, Alejandro, you know that I am a web video enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
I
did know that.
Yes, I'm glad you know that because I talk
but
about
I won't tell
all
the audience
the time.
What type of web videos that you're enthusiastic
Oh, don't go there.
about.
This thing on? Well, the UFO extraterrestrial theme is popular in Hollywood, and we've talked about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We had one of our magazines about that. But now this theme is being utilized by a popular online entertainment network, Machinima. And they are mainly known as like a gaming company. They do a lot of gaming videos and things like that. But they're hugely popular, and they just launched a new web series titled Receiver, and that's spelled RCVR. Right. And Receiver, with its stories of extraterrestrial encounters and cover-up attempts by a secret government, will surely appeal to fans of shows like X-Files. It's very similar to the premise of X-Files. Chris Atkinson of Real SEO explains that receivers are people who have been communicated to by aliens, possessing knowledge about things like complex math that they did not before. Machinima provides this description of the series. Receivers are humanity's greatest asset, and it's the job of agent Luke Weber to track them down. In doing so, Weber is also tasked with conducting one of the most important disinformation campaigns in American history. But the cover-up is about to get even more difficult for Agent Weber. Dun, dun, dun.
Wow.
Up until now, the UFO extraterrestrial theme has been mostly absent from the blossoming web video industry. But Machinima, behind this new Receiver series, means this theme will receive major attention in the web video world because Machinima has one of the most popular YouTube channels. One of the most popular YouTube channels, period. I think they're like the number 5 channel of YouTube. They have more than 56 million subscribers. Well, season 1...
That's more than we have.
That's a few more than we have.
Wow.
Ours is pretty popular.
Mm-hmm.
But... and if you don't believe us, you can go to youtube.com/openmindstv and see. We're pretty close to 56 million.
Whoa.
But if you go there and see that number is not quite there, if you subscribe to our channel, that can help us.
Yeah, get us that much closer.
But season 1 of Receiver will consist of 6 episodes. New episodes will be posted to Machinima's YouTube channel every Wednesday.
Cool. It's cool. The next X-Files is online. How appropriate.
I think so.
And I should tell the audience, for those people who are saying, oh, Jason's gross. I was kidding. He's into the web video in general. Just what is happening in the world of all web video.
What's gross about puppy videos?
Yeah.
That's not what you were talking about?
Alejandro. We'll have to admit, we watch puppy videos here.
They are pretty addictive.
So does everybody, though, because they're extremely popular.
Yeah, next to porn and UFOs, they're probably next.
Yeah, they have to be. People are all on the puppy, watching puppies do anything.
Oh, yes. And then after that, probably The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Well, Alejandro, I have more news. You ready for more news?
Yes.
I don't know if you saw this video, but a man in San Antonio, Texas, recorded a video of UFO 2 weeks ago from his backyard. He explained to KENS Channel 5, first of all, no navigational lights. That's what got my attention at first. Then I started zooming in and started seeing the different configuration of the lights. The witness stated that he sees helicopters and airplanes above his house all the time, but what he recorded with his camera was something completely different. And looking at the video, when they showed the zoom in, it looked like a triangle UFO and had various lights on the bottom of it. It looked very similar to shape of crafts we've seen a lot before. And it was nighttime. You couldn't really see it. And, the camera wasn't that great. So, I mean, the video is interesting for sure. You can't really determine anything from it. Mm-hmm. But the guy was definitely very excited about it. But in this case, I thought the news channel their Channel 5, did kind of a bad job with the report. I don't know, we're seeing this less and less, but it still exists. And they kind of made him look loony a bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could tell he is a UFO enthusiast, and I think he's recorded stuff before. But when they did the interview with him, they had him in a shirt that had an alien on it. And they interviewed him by his computer, and he had an alien hat sitting on top of the monitor.
I wonder, and you never know, because some people don't realize that. Well, don't wear the alien shirt. Sometimes the people do that, but then sometimes when they come to interview you, they'll ask you to do that.
Right.
So, and you never know. I remember one time, I had this MUFON interview, and they had me put all kinds of paperwork and stuff out, pictures of UFOs, which I did. And then he's like, well, can I get a video of the page with the aliens? And I said, no, really that's not what this is all about. These are what people have reported, but mostly we're dealing with different UFO sightings. He's like, well, I just want to get it. Maybe we'll use it in the future or something. So he talked me into it. He filmed it. Sure enough, it's like a 30-second segment, and that's one of the things they used.
Oh, yeah.
That was the thing they used the most.
Look at this goofball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Alejandro, this is an interesting story. Reuters news partner The Wrap published an article back in August about an upcoming documentary titled Revelations of the Mayans 2012 and Beyond. The article reported that the Mexican government had released state-held secrets about the end of the Mayan calendar to the filmmakers. And when asked if the movie would mention extraterrestrials, the response given by the filmmakers was simply, everything is going to come out in time, but I can't comment on aliens or 2012. But according to a new article published by The Wrap today, this documentary will also provide evidence that the Mayans had contact with extraterrestrials. Raul Julia Levy, the film's producer, stated, Mexico will release codices, artifacts, and significant documents with evidence of Mayan and extraterrestrial contact, and all of their information will be corroborated by archaeologists. Additionally, Luis Augusto Garcia Rosado, the Minister of Tourism for the Mexican state of Campeche, told The Wrap, this new evidence has emerged showing contact between the Mayans and extraterrestrials, supported by translations of certain codices, which the government has kept secure in underground vaults for some time.
Codices.
Yes. The Guatemalan government is also involved with this film. While they aren't offering up any information about extraterrestrials, they are giving filmmakers access to previously classified artifacts and newly discovered prophecies. Guatemala's Minister of Tourism, Guillermo Noviele Quezada, said his country is working with the filmmakers on this documentary for the good of mankind. Revelations of the Mayan 2012 and Beyond begins filming in November this year and is scheduled to be released in theaters in late 2012, but before December 21st.
I think that's a good motivation for the good of mankind. I think that's the reason people should do things. Just so. That's what I do. Why I do everything I do.
Why you do everything you do?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
I'm proud of them.
I'll argue with that on some other time.
This one's interesting. I mean, I think it gets a lot of people exciting, and it would be really interesting to see some sort of extraterrestrial connection with the Mayans, although the Mayans already do say Quetzalcoatl came from the sky. So it'll be interesting to see this show. Of course, it's hard. Just because mythology says people came from the sky doesn't necessarily mean there was extraterrestrial interaction, unless you're on Ancient Aliens,
right,
where everything seems to be extraterrestrial. But it's still, of course, it's great. It's exciting. And, of course, if there's something new to come out, that would be really interesting. And it's interesting that what the heck are these governments hiding stuff for anyway?
Right.
They said we were keeping some provocative information locked up. Why do that? That's
in
not
underground vaults.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems kind of weird. It seems kind of weird that they would have these artifacts that they've locked away.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And that's really exciting that they're bringing out these artifacts that have never been seen before.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Who knows what the extraterrestrial angle is going to be? I mean, bottom line, this is probably a publicity stunt for them to get tourism to capitalize on the whole 2012 thing, which is smart on their part. And, these government officials coming forward are their, tourism people. Mm-hmm. So who knows? I mean, that's most likely what it is. We'll see what information comes forward. But the fact that they are coming forward and pushing the extraterrestrial information is kind of fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. We've been watching Mexican tourist information for a while because Mexico City, their director of tourism's Alejandro Rojas.
You!
Not me, though.
But you're Alejandro Rojas.
Yeah, well, there's many in the Latin world.
I thought there was only one.
Well, you were wrong.
In my world, there's only one.
You're right.
Well, Alejandro, one last thing I'll mention. Did you happen to catch Clifford Cliff on The Daily Show?
I did.
That was a good laugh.
It was very funny.
Cliff is a funny guy, and we talked to him at MUFON in California about his appearance because this was filmed quite a while ago. Mm-hmm. And he's a funny guy. He has a good sense of humor, and he knew going into this comedy show that's exactly what it was. And instead of being like some people who really fight it and trying to be the stiff, straight guy and get upset at the jokes, he played right into it. He was a perfect guest, and he handled it well.
Yeah, he did a great job. He rolled with it, and I think he did a great job. A lot of people are out there, oh, how could he do that? He made MUFON look foolish. But, I mean, they made just as much, if not more, fun of NASA in this clip because they interviewed a NASA guy, too.
Oh, the NASA guy looked pissed.
MUFON.
Yeah, they made NASA look pretty dumb.
Yeah, he didn't have the sense of humor Cliff had. So I thought it was really funny. It's great. At least now hopefully more people know about MUFON and are checking out their website.
And that was Cliff's goal in going on the show.
Yep. And, you can't always be just uptight about it. I think some of the guys are criticizing need to loosen up a little bit because they're just, really upset.
I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Excellent. Well, Alejandro, that is it for the news for today. Remember to check out all of these stories and many, many more at openminds.tv, your source for UFO-related news. I'm Jason McClellan, your Open Minds news correspondent, and you've been briefed. Back to you, Alejandro.
Thank you, Jason. A couple other stories going on openminds.tv. There is a petition out there by Stephen Bassett of the Paradigm Research Group to have Obama formally acknowledge an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. However, I did write in this story that I put on our website that there have been presidents that have sought this information, and they haven't had any luck. So I talk about allegations that Carter looked for this information, what Bill Clinton has said about his search for the truth in this arena. And so you can look at that. I asked Stephen Bassett, do you think he knows anything? And if he doesn't, do you think he'd be successful on getting some information? And Steve said that if he doesn't know anything, he can very easily get the information. So hopefully he's right. But unfortunately, I'm not so sure. Be great. Other news that we have up on the website are some of the stories that we're running. Antonio Huneeus had done some research in the past of the RAND Corporation. This is a think tank that works for defense and the government on various different matters, from politics to defense and all of this stuff. And he's got a story up on the RAND Corporation's involvement with UFOs. And it does go all the way back. In fact, the Air Force actually had denied the RAND Corporation had any involvement. But we do know that they helped out with Project Grudge back before Blue Book, so in the UFO investigation. So we knew that was a lie, and over time, and this is chronicled in Antonio's story, we found out more about RAND and some of the UFO studies they did, which they did. So it's an interesting historical story. We've got part 1 up, and part 2 will be coming very soon. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. But soon. Anyway, that is what's going on the website. Everything else we already covered and Jason talked about. He did a great job with the news. However, let us get to our very interesting interview with Stan and Lisa Romanek. Okay, I am excited to have Stan and Lisa Romanek right here with me in the studio, and we're going to be talking some hybrid aliens. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Alejandro.
That was real enthusiastic.
Hi, Alejandro.
You can say hi too, Lisa.
Hi, Alejandro.
Do you get included in many of the interviews for our radio and stuff?
No, this is my second one.
Was the first one the other one that I did?
Okay, so the third one I did.
Cool, which is important. Having Lisa here is important for a few reasons. First of all, because I and Stan, even if he doesn't admit it, I'm ready to admit I'm a space cadet and I never remember dates, let alone names. So Lisa is really good at knowing when and what happened. Stan, unfortunately, gets the events confused
I
sometimes.
do get kind of, forgetful at sometimes, so Lisa is definitely my memory.
Well, it's hard to keep track. So much has happened.
Absolutely. I mean, really, so much has happened. There's a lot of stuff we just don't write down because it's not, I don't think it's as important as some of the bigger stuff.
What to you is bigger stuff?
ETs walking around in your yard, hybrid kids walking around, contact, UFOs, stuff like that happens all the time. Although the UFO I saw yesterday with the director for Phoenix MUFON was really, really very impressive. So,
Yeah, explain what you saw.
I just finished speaking at Phoenix MUFON, and me and Lisa and the head of Phoenix MUFON were driving to Jim. Yeah, sorry. We're driving to a night watch, and off to the south would be off to the right of the car, about 90 degrees up in the sky was it had to have been a mile-long cylinder. Mm-hmm. It was up there ways because I watched as planes were flying under it, and it seemed whitish, kind of bluish white, almost pearlescent, kind of surrounded by pearlescent light. And underneath was a row of red lights. And I wanted to make sure that it was actually a UFO before I said anything to Jim because he's, the director for Phoenix MUFON. I didn't want to look like an idiot. Mm-hmm. And then I showed him that. He goes, "Oh my God, I've never seen anything like that." And then it literally kind of shrunk down really, really fast to a small blinking light and then just vanished. Mm-hmm. So.
And you saw it too, Lisa.
Yes, I did.
What did you see?
I saw the same thing.
Anything different? When did you first notice it?
We were driving up to the Skywatch. We were on 60. What is that? 60.
60. We just call it 60 around here.
Oh, okay, 60. And it was right before we got to.
I don't remember the name of that.
It's at the Superstition Mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the same thing. Only when it started to shrink down, it was like it went behind a cloud. It just got really faint, and then it just shrunk down, like it disappeared behind a cloud, and was just a small blinky light. Mm-hmm. But there were no clouds. Absolutely no clouds last night.
Yep.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. So now, on average, I mean, you seem to see things quite a bit, UFOs.
Yeah, we all do.
On how many would you say you see a month?
Oh, it's slowed down quite a bit. At first, we'd see, I don't know, I wouldn't say a month. I'd say maybe, maybe a couple every 6 months at least.
Mm-hmm. And Lisa, the first trip you took with Stan, right, you saw something.
2 UFOs.
Two actually. UFOs the first trip. And
yep.
When was that and where were you going?
It was August 2001, mm-hmm. and we were going to Pennsylvania. And we were just crossing into Pennsylvania when off to the left I saw this like object in the sky, and I was telling Stan and his friend Mark, who were with us, to look at it. And it was just like there. It wasn't blinking. It wasn't anything. It was just like a disc in the sky. And they couldn't see it, and then it just went from the left side of the interstate to the side of the interstate just that fast, just snap. It was there. Then on the way back, when we were leaving 3 days later, we were, I don't even know what state we were in, but we noticed it off to the right side of the car again, so it would have been the north. And once we saw it, we, of course, were smart enough to think about it more. And we had binoculars, so we got it out, and we could actually see that it was a silver disc. No lights, no nothing, just a silver disc. And every time we tried to pull over to, like, take a photograph or get it on video, it would disappear in the clouds. We'd get back in the car, get going again. Over and over, it would just go behind the clouds and disappear. Well, these guys were driving like 85 miles an hour, hanging out both sides of the car. I was scared to death. I mean, this went on for 2 states. I mean, flying through these states, this thing in front of us.
Well, and how long had you known Stan by then? Were you married at that point?
No. I had known him for about a year.
Wow. So right off the bat from knowing Stan, I mean, the rest we have, I mean, we've talked about you and your history with all of this on the last show, so people can look for that. Because this time I want to focus on the timeline now that there's more of it, because there's a lot more of what seems to be interactions with hybrid aliens, possibly your offspring, which is obviously pretty strange. But this started, I guess, and correct me, if I'm off or I'm forgetting anything. It seems that this had started with the experience where you got to meet some of these children. Well, I guess to begin with, though, ever since you were being taken, you were coming back and blood was in your urine when you'd return, or you would have blood on your boxers and stuff. And unfortunately, I had the wonderful job of being able to collect one of your soiled boxers and put those in a bottle to be tested.
That wasn't my idea, by the way.
I know.
That's just gross.
In fact, we had to do it because you didn't want that to be done. Actually, we had to do it kind of sneaky behind your back.
Lisa snuck it, but I was good. Yeah. Usually when I'm taken, there's evidence, be it scoop marks or I have a bloody nose or I pee blood or something. And they were doing genetic experiments. I know they were. There was evidence. I remember during one of my abductions, I'm always abducted with a woman. Every single time, usually, I was abducted with a woman. And for the longest time, it was always the same woman. And there was one incident where after our abduction or introduction or whatever you want to call it, we were taken to a room. And this room was, it had some rows of, benches, I guess, for lack of a better description. And these beings brought these children in to the room, and there were various ages and various stages of development, and some looked more human, some looked less human. And these kids were just the most loving, adorable, sweet, just amazing kids you could imagine. I mean, and one of them came running up to me. I'll never forget this. One little girl came running up to me, and she grabbed my leg and held my leg, and she wouldn't let go, and she was just like a child would to a parent. And I looked down, and it dawned on me that these kids were our children. These were my kids. These, especially the one hugging my leg, looked a little bit like me. She had that same kind of structure. But again, they were not all human. I mean, especially in the eyes, this particular child, as far as the eyes were concerned, had extremely large almond-shaped eyes, and they were very, very slanted. And they were a type of blue that I have not seen on any human being. They were so blue they were almost violet. And I remember these beings were starting to gather up these kids. Apparently they were taking us back or something, and these beings were gathering up these kids. And the first thing I thought of is, I've got to protect these children. I've got to protect these kids. So I, took a stance, and one of these beings, if they were to come near me, I would have probably knocked them on the ground or something. And I remember a thought just kind of popped into my head, they won't survive with you. You can't take them. They won't survive. And it dawned on me that they were absolutely right. So then I was taken back to a separate room with this woman, and I was returned, and apparently they kind of were in a hurry and put me in somebody else's clothing because I ended up waking Lisa up wearing a woman's nightgown that didn't belong to anybody. So,
yeah. And your version, of course, of this is really funny, so if you could tell. What happened, when this was, and what happened in that night?
I'm thinking. February 13th, 2003.
2003? Okay.
Pretty
Yeah,
sure.
and what
Pretty
happened?
sure.
I mean, he wakes up and he's like freaking out and saying, Lisa, Lisa, and then...
What happened was I woke up because I was just coughing. It's like I've had surgery before, so you know how when you wake up from surgery and it's like you've had the tube down your throat and it's just like really irritated and dry. And I was just coughing and I couldn't figure out why because I didn't have a cold. So finally I got up, went into the kitchen and got a drink. When I came back into the bedroom, Stan sits straight up out of bed and he's like, "Did they take you too?" I'm kind of a smart aleck, so it's like, yeah. They took me too, you weirdo. Curled back up in bed, and he decided to get up and go to the bathroom because he was awake. Well, he didn't make it to the door. He just froze, and he's like, "Tell me this is yours." It's like, "Stan, I can't see you. It's dark in here. Tell me it's yours." And I could tell he was starting to panic about something. He said, "I still can't see. Turn on the light." So he flips on the light, and I start laughing so hard. Because he stands standing in the middle of the room wearing a red and black plaid nightgown, long-sleeved with Mickey Mouse on the pocket.
Woman's nightgown.
No, men wear them too, honey. Of course it's a woman's
I don't know.
Right. Well, it was a men's version.
A one-size-fits-all woman's plaid nightgown,
Uh-huh.
which was tight on Stan, which was hilarious in
Right.
itself. So we go through the process of trying to calm him down, trying to get up off the floor where I because I was laughing hard. I thought I was going to fall off that bed.
Uh-huh.
So I was trying to calm him down. He starts crying. And then it's just like he freezes. He's like, "Oh my gosh, there's something wet on the back of his nightgown." Because it finally had touched his skin and he's wiggling around. So it got even funnier because he's like grossing out. "Just get it off, get it off." So here I'm trying to pry this thing off of him while he's, 6 foot tall. I'm 5'2". It's not easy. It's like, "Sit down." So I'm pulling it up over his head. He's freaking out. "Don't let it get on my hair." And then, it's like, what happened? We had to call, who we needed to call to let them know, find out what to do with it. Then we started thinking, earlier in the night, which Stan forgets about all the time, we woke up thinking there was a police car or an ambulance or something outside our house.
Oh, wow.
Because they were like red, like lights flashing outside our bedroom window. And we both remember getting up, going to the window, pulling the shade up,
But I don't remember
and
anything
nothing
after
else.
that. Yeah, that's right. Don't
The
remember.
Oh,
next thing we
really?
remember was me waking up coughing. So something happened, and there was no police car
You're right, I
out there.
forget about that every single time I do.
That's why you have me.
Yep, that's why we've got her here. That's interesting. I'm glad you're here to share that because I didn't remember. I don't even know if I was ever aware of that
Yeah,
part.
probably not.
Talk to me more.
So, how much of what you just recalled there with the interaction with those children is something that you remembered without the regression? Because I know Deborah Lindemann did a regression of that. I remember seeing that. Was there any of that or that you did remember consciously?
I remember, honestly, Alejandro, I remember all of it pretty much consciously. The reason I did the regression is to substantiate what my memories were because I didn't, being such a skeptic, you don't know if you're going crazy or not. And were these memories real? Was it something else? Was it something I saw on TV? There's all these different things it could be. And I remember most everything. And my abductions, especially the first one, wasn't. And I always tell you the same thing. If you watch TV, it's the sleep paralysis stuff. Maybe they'll stop doing that because it doesn't explain my first abduction experience. It doesn't explain Travis Walton or Betty and Barney Hills. But yeah, I remember the children very vividly. I remember the smells. I remember the way it looked. I remember once they put us in this room, the room started shaking, and it seemed like we were moving or something, and me and this other woman were sitting there. And the being came up and put his hand on this lit panel, and it made the wall transparent. I thought he opened something, and he was going to push us out. And right there, we were at the bottom of a planet. And the planet had pastel rings in it, so I'm assuming it was probably Jupiter. And right there at the bottom of this planet was this huge black obsidian-looking cylinder ship. And this thing must have been at least 1,000 miles wide, at least 500 miles. And we were accelerating away from it so fast, it was, this huge ship to a dot in a matter of seconds.
Mm-hmm. And so this experience with the children was aboard like this little craft that was taking you from this larger mothership back.
It was before we went into that little craft.
Oh, before you went into the little craft.
Because then after they took us out of this where the children were, they scurried the children out somewhere else and took us into this room, and then the room started moving, and then I woke up, in the woman's nightgown.
Mm-hmm. So as the timeline goes, and of course Lisa's luckily here to make sure we have it all right, but the next then event with a child, was that then the party that we had for the book? With that picture?
Yes.
And between then, and what year was that? That was just a couple of years ago.
2008.
2008. So that's like 5 years had gone by without any real kind of child hybrid interaction going on.
Exactly.
Or was it 2009?
Probably 2008. That sounds right, because I moved out into Arizona soon after that, and I came out here mid-2009.
Lisa had a surprise book release party for me. I just became a #1 author, and she threw me this awesome party, and my friend Mark was part of it, and I was clueless this whole thing. Well, son of a gun, really enjoyed himself. He took us. He took me and my friend Mark, went to a movie, came back, and there were all these people, and they said, "You're #1," and yay, and I cried. It was really very touching, and it was about 9 o'clock in the evening, and it was raining outside, and the party was just starting to get going, and I looked outside, and we don't have any street lights on our block. Everybody just turns their porch lights on, and I see this little girl standing out at the edge of the driveway in the pouring rain, and I thought it was odd enough that she was out. 9 o'clock at night, what parents in their right mind would let a little girl out 9 o'clock at night? And why was she wearing a jumpsuit, a gray jumpsuit? And it was raining. She was just standing there watching me in the rain. And so I went out to see if she needed anything. She ran away. Well, I was telling everybody about it, and they kept saying, don't worry, it's a neighbor kid. And she showed up again, and I said, the kid's here, the kid's back. Leave her alone. Somebody said, leave her alone. She's just a neighbor kid. Well, she was staring at me, standing again in the driveway in the pouring rain. I went outside to see if I could help her or something, and she kind of just scurried away. I grabbed my camera. I had my camera with me, and I was using the flash as a flashlight to see where I was going, and she popped out from behind a tree, and I got a picture of her. And I was so dumbfounded by the picture that I got. I don't even really remember if she disappeared, ran away, what she did, because I'm looking at this picture. And one of the researchers involved with the case, and a good friend, Rick, followed behind me. He goes, Stan, what happened? What's wrong? And I couldn't say anything. I was dumbfounded. I just showed him the picture, and he goes, oh, my God, you have to show everybody this picture. So he drugged me back into where the party was, and there were, how many people? I think 12 people there.
17.
17 people.
17.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Alejandro was one of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you were there.
So I remember, I'll recall what I remember of the picture, and then, you guys tell me if you remember something different. But a really pretty girl with brown hair, a big forehead, it seemed like, And she had, like you said, these large almond-shaped eyes there. That was the one weird thing about her. Two weird things about her were her big eyes, abnormally large, and the other weird thing was her expression, because she seemed very adult in her expression to me. It looked like an adult would kind of have this wry smile, like with a child when they're fooling with a child, or maybe the child is doing something kind of silly and they're kind of making this knowing smile. That's what I remember. Is that essentially what you guys remember?
I remember the eyes. The eyes were so huge and almond, and they've got that slanted almond shape to them. And to me, she looked almost angelic, like love was being emanated off the picture itself. And I'll never forget, because we showed one of the scientists involved with my case that was there too, and he started crying. I mean, it was so touching.
It's Claude Swanson.
Claude Swanson, yeah. Well,
I remember people kind of freaked out, yeah.
I just remember, when you see that picture, it was just very impish. She just...
That's not
nice. Very impish is good.
Oh, okay.
Impish is very playful, happy little thing.
Alejandro, that's not nice.
Wimpy. Impish.
Yeah. Impish. Okay. And then what happened?
Well, all of a sudden, what did you say? Everybody's telling me you got to put this on the.
Yeah, I drug you to the computer because we got to get it on the computer.
Exactly. Put this on the computer. Put this on the computer.
Because I was afraid what happened would happen.
Yeah, and it did happen. I got down the step, just 2 steps, and all of a sudden the camera went beep, and the computer vanished.
The picture vanished.
I mean, not the picture. The computer.
It was magic. It just the whole computer is gone.
The computer was still there, not the picture.
No. I walked down the stairs, just 2 steps down the stairs, and all of a sudden the camera beeped, and the picture vanished, and. Everybody's gone, Stan, you did something. What'd you do? It's like I was holding the camera in the palm of my hand, making sure I wasn't touching anything because I wanted to put it on the bigger monitor for the computer. And it just disappeared on its own. Mm-hmm. And then just a few minutes later.
The phone. And this will be me and Lisa's part, and then you can tell what happened on the phone.
All right.
Because I remember this part distinctly, because everybody goes back to their room. Everybody's bummed, talking about, oh, my gosh, what do you remember with the picture? What do you remember? And talking about the picture. Some people being emotional. I just remembered the women. I don't remember. I didn't see Claude getting emotional, but that's kind of cute. Anyway, he was just on the show a couple weeks ago, Claude Swanson, if some of my listeners will remember him. Incredible show. Great guy. And the phone rang. And I only remember me and Lisa really paying much attention to that, because I immediately looked at Lisa, and then Lisa looks at me, and you go and grab you went and grabbed the phone, and Lisa and I followed you very quickly down to the hallway that goes to your office where you took the phone call. That's what I remember. Do you remember that?
Exactly.
And then,
down to the hallway by the family room. Yep. And
then the phone. You had some sort of conversation that made you emotional, and share what you remember. That was.
Well, the phone rang, and I still remember. Lisa says it didn't happen this way, but I remember somebody handing me the phone, so I pressed the button to answer it, and there was a little girl's voice on there, and it said, "Daddy, I love you. I'll get to see you again sometime." And I couldn't believe it. And I just completely fell apart and started bawling.
Mm-hmm. I can tell by Lisa's face that she remembers you recalling it a little differently before.
From our part, I mean, what we heard from Stan was, "I love you too." And he just got real emotional. And we asked him, who is it? What's going on? And he said, "It's my daughter." And we're like, okay, so.
Oh, right, because I thought it was his other.
Yeah, his real, his Earth daughter.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so what's wrong? We're worried that something happened to his daughter. And he goes, "No." She said, "Daddy, don't worry."
Oh, yes, that's right. "Daddy, don't worry."
I'm okay, because he was worried about her being out in the rain. Then she says, "I love you." And he says, "I love you too." And then he just started crying.
Yeah, I remember feeling kind of bad because you were so emotional.
That's right.
And we're like, what?
But we wanted to know what happened, and especially Lisa's like, no, you tell us before you go off on your own. So, but she didn't say it like that, but it was, of course, very persistent. And so you shared just that, that what she had said. And then, of course, you couldn't hold back the emotion at that point, and you got real emotional and went to your office, and I left you to be on your own because to respect
that was tough. Number one, you
but I think Lisa chased you down.
Yeah, I
did. You see this amazing child. It's from something, and it brings it home. It makes it real. It's a real living being. It wasn't my imagination, and I think all that combined just kind of, I lost it at that point.
Well, we were all in shock.
Yeah.
But what's confuses Stan is because Victoria actually got a call from the same child 3 days later, or about 3 days later,
saying
calling her mommy. Mm-hmm. And saying not to worry, that she'll see her again.
That's
sometime.
where I get confused. Now we gotta explain Victoria. I met Victoria at a talk I did in Colorado Springs, and she was working with Jeff Peckman doing the Denver ET Initiative, and she came to, which started because of my experiences. Basically, came to see me talk. And he suggested that she go see my presentation, which she did. And I recognized her. I couldn't remember from where. And then it dawned on me, that's the woman. That's the woman that I've been taken with all these years. And sure enough, it ended up to be the case, and we became really close friends. And she became close friends with the family. So this particular little girl showed up. And it was definitely one of the kids.
Mm-hmm. So after, the couple of days after that had happened, how were you feeling? I mean, how were you taking all of this in?
I was emotional. I was conflicted because, even after all these years, I'm still kind of skeptical about certain things, and it's still hard for me to accept certain things. That's just the way it is. And this was just one more bizarre thing. Could this be some kind of experiment to see if I'd freak out? Is this real? Is this not real? I was excited. I was concerned. I was emotional. I started wondering if the children were okay. How they need to be with us. We need to protect them. We need to make sure they're okay. Mm-hmm. And that kept going over and over and over in my head.
How about for you, Lisa? Did you believe then, once Victoria had received that phone call, especially, that indeed she was the mother of, or involved with the creation of this hybrid child, that she was an abductee?
I believed it before that, but just having the child contact Victoria and Stan was very hard. Mm-hmm. It definitely brought home that they had a connection that was going to be difficult to deal with for me emotionally.
This is my man. Take me and make hybrid babies with him and me.
No. I didn't care about that.
Yeah.
It was just, trying to get through that emotional connection that these hybrid children were creating in my family with this stranger that had just come into our lives. So it was tough.
Yeah. And at this point, then, it would probably, there's no way we're going to be able to go over all the different interactions that then started happening, but we could go over some of the bigger ones with seemingly these children getting phone calls, because then what started first, I think, just getting lots of phone calls, and I think you guys saw
we had two more experiences, then 2 phone calls, then a big experience in a conference we went to where a bunch of people got to see these kids.
Yeah, that is an incredible experience. Let's get into that. And when was this? And then if you can recall what happened.
Are you talking about the last one?
The big one.
The big one.
The Aztec conference.
Yeah.
Well, we had seen 2 others. One was picking flowers and we caught her. One was looking in our window and we caught her. And then we got a phone call.
Caught her and grabbed her?
No, we caught her picking flowers, and she took off.
Took
You
pictures
saw
of
her.
her.
And I was taking pictures of the cats, and because they were acting weird. And then all of a sudden, this little girl stood up from behind the grill. The grill was up at the back of the deck, and there were flowers there. She stood up, and I know she was holding flowers, and she was picking Lisa's flowers that she had planted. It's like, oh no, she could get in so much trouble. She took off out the gate and just vanished. And I didn't know I had captured a picture of her until after some friends came over, and they noticed a bouquet of flowers on our doorstep that were left for us. Mm-hmm. And looking through the pictures, we saw a picture of this little girl. But then there was another situation where, I just got a new camera, and we were just messing around with the camera. It was dark out, and all of a sudden I saw movement out of one of the windows, and I see this little kid running away. It's like, holy crap. So we chased after her, and she just disappeared. Mm-hmm. And looked at the pictures, and you can see her looking in the corner of the window. Then we got a phone call, and it wasn't a phone call. They had this weird ability to be able to interrupt phone conversations. And I was talking with another friend of ours, Heidi Sudani. And I don't remember what exactly we were talking about, but we heard this little kid's voice. And so much stuff happens over the phone or just in general that it was your suggestion, keep digital recorders with you and cameras with you and all that other stuff. So we all had digital recorders with us wherever we go or whenever we're talking. And we heard this little voice, and Heidi, I couldn't find my digital recorder. Heidi got hers out, and this little girl told us there's 9 of the kids, 7 from the same, 2 each one from different. And her name was Kioma. She named herself. She said, my name's Kioma. And for Heidi, your daughter's name is Trilly. And apparently they picked their own names. And, they were concerned about a conference that I was going to go to and warned me just to be careful. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, as time went on, I had to do another conference in Aztec, New Mexico. And I was talking to Victoria this time when we got an interrupted phone call or an interruption on our phone call. And we both had tape recorders, and we heard this low voice and screwed to get our tape recorder. And Victoria goes, or I go, is this Kioma? And you can hear this little voice go, yes. And I thought somebody was playing a joke. I go, I think somebody's joking around. And Victoria kept wanting to know if I had my tape recorder. I said yes. And I said, and she goes, Kioma, can you hear us? Yes. And then eventually I said, I think somebody's just playing around. Somebody's joking around. She goes, you're silly. This little girl voice goes. And I said, okay, if I'm so silly, if you really are who we think you are, then when are we going to see you again next time? She said, well, we might be able to see you next time at your next talk. And so we were told that they might show up at the talk at the Aztec conference.
Mm-hmm. Before we get into that, you went over a lot of stuff, and I was kind of smiling because I want to. Was he pretty accurate on all of that? Was there anything?
Pretty accurate. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right. Good
Forgot
job.
the footprints that we got molds of, but
yeah, the girl in the window that we saw left footprints, but
okay.
So anyway, we went to Aztec for the conference, expecting to see these children. Hoping to at least.
And we actually drove out to Aztec, New Mexico, and we decided to save some money, and we kind of carpooled with Paula Harris and our friend Lucy. And everybody was expecting, these kids just to show up, and they never really showed up, and I was getting really frustrated. And it got to the time where I was going to be a speaker, and Paula was also a speaker. And she was speaking before me, and so I went, our friend Lucy started getting sick, and so I took her back to the hotel, and I went to get dressed for my talk. And I had just gotten back, and I dropped my computer on the ground, and I went to pick up my computer, and as I was bending down, I see this little kid come running up, and I just see her legs kind of bending down. And she kind of holds out these flowers, and she goes, these are for you. And I'm still trying to fumble with my computer, and I grab him. I said, "Thank you." And just then she says, "I love you," and runs away. And I kind of look up as high as I could because I'm looking for the parents to find out, to thank the parents for letting their kid give me flowers, but there's nobody there, and the kid's gone. And then it dawns on me, oh my God, this could be one of the hybrid kids that I heard about. Well, I'm looking all over the place, and she's gone. So I come in and tell Lisa, and Lisa asks if anybody else sees her, and I say no. And then, we're just dumbfounded. So I'm trying to find other people to see if they've seen this child, and it's about time it's getting close for me to talk. And then I'll let Lisa take over from here because somebody else shows up.
Mm-hmm. So Stan was out wandering around talking, and this little girl comes in. And at this conference, there was one child there the whole time, and she was the little mascot in an alien costume for the Aztec Library. She volunteered to do it, just for fun. So, seeing this kid walk in, with Stan being the only speaker left, was kind of strange. There'd been no kids. And Stan was headed back, walked right past her. She sat down, and I said, "Stan, take a picture of this little girl." I said, "There is something strange about her." It was just like a feeling that, I couldn't get close to her, but there was something very strange about her. Mm-hmm. She just weird looking, just not homely by any means. She's very cute, but...
And wasn't she kind of dressed strange? She was wearing a jumpsuit or something?
It was like a gray sweatsuit kind of jumpsuit outfit, like a two-piece outfit. Which is strange because we are in Aztec, New Mexico, and it was not cold outside. Mm-hmm. So Stan finally is like, "Fine, whatever. She doesn't look weird to me. She's nothing strange, just a normal kid." So he clicked this picture down by his hip so he didn't, flash everybody in the face in the audience. And headed back. And then this child just got up and walked towards the front of the room where Paula was speaking. Stan was gathering his stuff, his computer, getting all his stuff ready to go. And in the meantime, this child had wandered towards the front. We've totally forgot about it, just like, whatever, just get on with it. So then Stan went to talk. And, he was talking about this child he saw in the parking lot with the little pigtails down by her neck. 4 or 5 year old kid running around with no parents. So that's what happened. Mm-hmm.
And then, I did my presentation, and I told everybody, I did my presentation a little bit differently because I wanted to find out if anybody had seen this kid that I saw in the parking lot. And while I'm talking about this, I see this very tall boy walk in the back of the building, walk into the conference, from the back. And I swear to God, this kid must have been at least almost 8 foot. He had to duck down.
How tall do you think he was, Lisa?
He was at least 7 foot tall, but 8 foot probably would have put his head through the tiles. He was very, very tall.
Well, yeah, I'm obviously over-exaggerating, but he was a big kid. This kid was, especially for his young, and I could see him, all the way across
So when did you get the picture? Before your talk? Because you did get a picture.
I did. And like Lisa said, she told me to take a picture of this. She goes, "Take a picture." I go, "I don't want to." She doesn't look at, but she was in the dark. She had sat down with the rest of the audience, and she was watching Paula Harris talk, like she was looking for somebody. And I thought she was just a normal kid, and I didn't want to interrupt Paula Harris's talk, so I put the camera down by my side to kind of shield the light a little bit, and I just took a quick picture to satisfy Lisa.
And, of course, she looked really strange in the picture. She has these really big, her eyebrows go up.
Yeah, the ridges of her eyebrow, it's like skull. It was like very high.
Mm-hmm. You could tell that her eyes are, she's not a normal child. Mm-hmm. And during... after my talk, we had witnesses come forward, one of which was a woman that said this child actually came down and asked her a favor. And
yeah, I want to hear. That's a really interesting story.
Well, the woman's name was Linda. And after Stan's talk, she come rushing back there. She said, "It didn't make sense, but now it does. I have to tell you this." So she pulled Stan away from everyone into the corner of the room. And she says, "This child sat down beside her, and she says, is there something I can help you with? And she says, I can't find my dad. And the girl's like, okay. She said, and the child says, can you give him a message for me? Of course, Linda's like, okay, whatever makes this kid happy at this point. So she got a receipt and a pen out of her purse. All she had for paper was an old receipt, and started writing what this kid was saying. And she said, tell my dad we're here. We're here to help Earth. Tell Lisa my name is Suri, and one of the boys' name is Nadu.
Yeah, tell Dad one of the boys' name is Nadu.
And that they lived on Unak, whatever that is.
The woman didn't understand
half of it.
Yeah.
Couldn't spell half of it, whatever, because she was like, this kid was just rattling. And she said, I asked, who is your dad? And the girl got up and walked out, just out the side door. She was out, down the aisle and out. So. And
how old did this girl appear to be?
Around 10.
Wow.
I'd say a little bit younger than that. I thought she looked more like maybe 8.
9.5.
7, 8. She says 10.
Wow. Either way, I mean, that's
But
a
this woman tried to describe, and what's interesting in and of itself was the fact that this conference was held in a Mason's lodge. And this small town is really small, but there were almost 300 people there at this talk. There were 260 people.
Wow.
There. And a lot of people saw these weird kids, and they described this kid as having a bizarre necklace, diamond-shaped necklace on with tons and tons of
sparkly lights,
like LED lights that hummed. And sure enough, on the picture you can see it. And the woman said it was her eyes. She said, I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it with my own eyes. I also had the head mason come up to me. He had tears in his eyes. Literally, he was a little weepy because he was so frightened by what he saw. He'd never experienced anything like it. He said, that girl was not normal. I'm telling you, I know what I saw. That girl was not normal. And then if you look on the picture, the researchers pointed out that she only has 3 fingers and a thumb. That's it.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's really strange. And you do think that the description the lady who had talked to her gave was similar to the picture?
Absolutely. She said gray sweatsuit, little, triangle pendant, stringy blonde hair,
we have
big,
reports.
huge eyes. I mean.
Yeah, we have witness
And when was that conference?
I don't know.
Wasn't it May of 2009 probably? Yeah.
No.
That was 2000.
2010. Because I think the book release was in May of 2009.
Yep.
So not much more than a year ago.
No. It was a year and a half ago.
And we've already, gone through a lot of time, but have there been any incidents since?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Nothing with the children. We've had lots of other
No phone calls even? Wow.
Nothing.
We found some weird handprints on our window, but, I mean, she had 3 fingers and a thumb. So
and you haven't had an abduction experience in quite some time either, huh?
No. Thank goodness.
Yeah, because those are pretty terrifying, I'd imagine.
Well, they are. And, some of them are abductions. Some of them I call introductions just because they're a little bit different. I think I've had 2 abductions that were probably military or government or something.
So it's interesting, just getting back to the hybrids, that there was this window of a few years then of where somehow it seemed they were interacting with you, and you got, I mean, that is very uncommon in the abduction world, that someone would get to interact with beings like this. And I think another interesting aspect too is, just like with a lot of your events, there were witnesses.
I hear that that's uncommon a lot. I hear that those few words, that's uncommon. I hear that a lot. I mean, my case is different. My case is different because most of the stuff that happens with witnesses. This wasn't any different. I mean, there were witnesses to these hybrid kids also. We just had something happen while we were here at the, UFO, the MUFON talk that I did. They experienced stuff in the house, and, people saw that UFO. So that's just the way it is around us. And I'm grateful, though, and I'm sure Lisa is, because it makes it easier on me. Number one, I still am somewhat of a skeptic, and there's no way I would have come out with any of this if it wasn't for the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way it is. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of the lucky ones, I guess.
So why do you think your case is different? Do you have any sense of that?
My case is different compared to a lot of other cases because there is so much evidence, and I feel they give it to me. I don't do anything different other than I just have cameras laying around, and sometimes it's almost like they wait for me to go get my damn camera, or wait for me to get the video camera. They'll just hang out, and they wait for important people. I'll never forget when I had my talk in Denver, and the producer for 2020 was there, and her helper from Good Morning America was there. They were there when they saw the UFOs over the place I was doing the talk in Denver. They got to experience it. They had some other stuff happen. There was an incident where, this radio show was really rousing me and telling everybody it was full blown. I invited them up. I said, "Just, you don't believe me? Come up." Well, they did, and now they are my biggest supporters because they had experiences while they were at the house.
Really? Yeah, that's what I tell people. That's why I've gotten so many of my friends like Chuck Zukowski or my cousin Jason involved, because it's like, look, am I being fooled here? Am I missing something? What do you think? And, of course, then they begin to also experience things.
Absolutely. There's always going to be a skeptic. There's always going to be somebody that's telling, going to say, I'm trying to pull a fast one or I'm full of baloney, but the evidence speaks for itself. I don't have time to do this. I mean, do you know how much money it would take to do this for how many years now? Mm-hmm. And who would want this kind of attention? Look, it's a whack job that sees UFOs. At this point, I don't care what people think. I'm way past UFO 101. They can believe it or don't. I've got a message to spread, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, and let's get to that in the last 10 minutes that we have here is the message. Your talk, it seems like it's very important to you.
It is.
You've added this section about what the message is. What is that?
That we have a choice. Humans don't understand who they really are. Humans are greater than they understand. And, it seems like we're being controlled and we don't have to put up with it anymore. We have these amazing abilities. We have this ability to change reality naturally. Other things out there don't. And we can manifest what we believe. Have you ever notice how stuff in these old science fiction movies seem to have come true? Well, there's a reason for that, because we are able to manifest what we believe. So the people who control the human race and these wealthy elite, and some say it's, bad ETs. I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. But they understand this, so they try to keep everybody in fear. And by keeping everybody in fear, we manifest what we believe, so we're easy to control. But if we learn who we really are and learn the gifts we have, we don't have to. We can create our own, Eden. We don't have to be controlled anymore. All we have to do is think about love and caring and understanding, and try to make the wars go away and try to stop the bigotry, and everything will work out.
Now, a lot of what you said there is similar, almost and word for word, and partially because you've listened to the abductions a lot, but regressions, similar to the regression sessions you've had that seem almost like a channeling. I know you're a little skeptical about those. How do you feel about the regressions? And then how do you feel, where do you feel what you just shared, where did that come from?
The guys up there taught me. The guys upstairs taught me that. And it's not just me. I'm not the only abductee that's getting this information. There is a war going on. There's good and bad up there, just like there's good and bad here, and it's just information that's being kind of woven into all my experiences. That's what I'm learning, and that we have a choice, and we don't have to put up with the bullcrap anymore.
And the other thing, how you feel about the information that comes from the regressions? What do you feel about that?
Oh, geez, that. I still have a hard time with that. I mean, I put it's called the Orion regressions. It's going to be out soon. I put all those in the book. It's still hard for me to deal with. it's hard enough for me to have to accept that ETs are real and UFOs are being driven by something. And there's possible, hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of different types of things out there. But then all of a sudden I have to start dealing with this New Age junk that I'm really not comfortable with. And Lisa laughs at me, but that's what it is. To me, it's like this New Age hokey pokey stuff. And as you know, I had my first couple of regressions with a person named Deborah Lindemann, and I relived stuff. But at the end of my last regression with her, something happened where I was not myself, and I don't remember. And my mannerisms changed, and I started talking different. You were there for one of those regressions.
It was for just like half a minute, and she pulled you out of that
regression. She got kind of frightened and pulled me immediately out of the regression. And then you introduced us to Dr. Leo Sprinkle, and he regressed us again, and this time it happened, and he ran with it. And I thought it was under for only 10 minutes, and I ended up being under for a couple hours, and all kinds of weird stuff happened that I had to watch the video to see what happened because I didn't remember any of it. And then, Lisa and you guys can talk about it because it makes me uncomfortable.
Well, and just what's interesting is when Dr. Sprinkle was doing that, he put you under, and you go under very quickly. And once it's finished, you open your eyes and typically ask, did I go under or what happened?
I thought I fell asleep.
So that's what it feels like to you. I mean, what is the experience like to you when you sit in the chair, he starts to have you go under, and then what do you experience?
The first time it happened, I kind of remembered, at first I started talking about some of my experiences. I started having memories of my experiences. Then I honestly thought I fell asleep, and I was kind of embarrassed because I was hoping I wasn't snoring and everybody's laughing at me. And then I thought I was under for just a little while, and somebody woke me up, and then I realized it was 2 hours or so later.
So for you, it's almost like you're just taking a little nap.
It's that particular regression, yes. The ones that preceded it was different. I felt kind of drained, and I knew something more intense had happened. So
now, Lisa, one thing I want to mention is another thing that's different, which is great about your case, is one thing not a lot of abductees have a supportive spouse.
Absolutely.
Also, someone who is, I guess another thing is you're so prepared. I mean, both of you two, for these experiences and to kind of tackle them, to record them, be prepared to record what you can. We are now. And to record the sounds and stuff. And so now you have a book coming out where it's from your perspective.
Yes.
And what do you think is different about you and special about having a book from a spouse?
I've never read a book written by a spouse of an abductee. So I think it's important that people understand what we go through, how we have, the spouse of the abductee has to be very supportive, and they're not going through it alone. The spouses are being affected just as much as the abductee, the contactee, the experiencer, whatever you want to call them. And so are the kids,
Right.
It's about the friends, the family, everyone involved. They all experience the fear, that's going on. But I think it's very important that other people understand that they're not alone. These people who are sitting there like, I'm just going to divorce this guy because he's a nut. He's crazy. He's coming back. He's probably out sleeping around with some chick. Come back, tell me he was abducted. It's all this stuff all the anger and the frustration that spouses do feel, and they do think it. They're just too afraid to say it. So they make up some story and just say, it's just too much. He's crazy. She's crazy. Whatever. Can't do it. And, it's time for these people to stop getting divorced just because they don't know how to deal with it. They're too afraid. They don't have anyone to talk to. I didn't either.
Right.
But, so my book just talks about how to learn from those things that you've experienced and grow into understanding and and to let go of that fear so that you can move on with what you need to be doing, which is loving.
And how to deal with it. It's kind of like a self-help book. But
no, it is not.
Well,
it is not a self-help book.
I guess it's not. You're right.
It's a how to survive your spouse's abduction.
Well, that's a self-help book, isn't it?
Self-help for spouses of abductees.
That's a self-help book. What would you call that then?
A how-to.
Okay, a how-to book.
That's funny. I'm glad you brought that up because you keep saying that. You keep saying, no, it's not.
It's not a self-help book.
It's a how-to book.
Another, it wasn't 2020. It was going to be 2020, but it was some other NBC show,
geez,
right?
That was an amazing
Time.
story in and of itself.
Primetime did a special, and they made you come across as more of, a loyal spouse who is standing behind her man. But they kind of also made it come across as you're having to take what he's saying completely on faith. Exactly. Which isn't necessarily the case, though, because you had a lot of your own experiences. Right off the bat, you saw that UFO you explained at the beginning of the show.
Yes. But it goes further than that, because I get angry when they say a spouse is the worst witness. Why? Because they think all spouses are going to lie so that their husbands or wives are more believable. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Right.
The spouse is the one who sleeps with them for 8 hours a night. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And it just,
Well, and as we can hear with the show, which is an important aspect, I think, having you on, is that you're not afraid to have a different opinion than Stan.
She has a different opinion all the time, trust me.
So if he's saying, I saw this and that, and you're like, no, I don't think that's what it is, you're not afraid to say, I don't agree that that's what that was.
That's right.
She does. She helps, but she helps keep me grounded. And she believed in this stuff where I didn't. So that helped me through this process. Mm-hmm. And, she will stick up for what she believes in, and I think that's awesome. And, we need more people like that.
Okay, so I have a question. Did I answer your question, or did I just get sidetracked with the man?
No, you definitely answered the question. No, great. Thank you very much. You definitely answered the question, and you answered all of my questions so wonderfully, and now we are completely out of time. You both did. This was a lot of fun. This is great. I think people are going to be aided a lot because, of course, the hybrid thing is pretty fringe. I mean, it's pretty out there, but I mean, it's something.
It's real. It's
you've
happening.
Experienced. It's an interesting aspect of what happened, and here again, there were other witnesses.
What about this isn't fringe, though? I mean, this whole thing is fringe.
True.
It's becoming more and more mainstream.
But it happens. It happens all the time. And if people don't want to believe it, well, I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah. Chumps.
Yeah. That's right.
They're tough luck.
So get the books.
Yeah, so get the books. There's Lisa's book coming out very soon. Stan just talked about the Orion regressions.
I got the
which are the transcripts of the regressions coming out. And then you also have another one coming out, which is explain that other one.
This one is called Answers, and it's more than just a continuation of my book messages. It actually, they're giving me answers to questions, and they're telling us basically, I'm learning who we are, who the human race is, and our place in this, and how we can amazingly change quantum reality naturally, so we don't have to put up with this baloney anymore. So.
Well, thanks for having us on the show, Alejandro.
Yeah, and there's one more thing coming up, which is these guys are filming us right now because they're doing a documentary.
There is a documentary. Finally. There's a documentary feature film or a documentary coming out. Hopefully by next spring we think it'll be out. And they're filming it right now, and they started filming at the Phoenix MUFON talk that I did, and they're going to follow us home and follow us around a while. And these guys are good guys. I'm excited to see this
7 years in the progress, and finally filming has begun. Yay,
I know, it's
J3.
very exciting. It's going to be great to have their documentary out.
That's
so
right.
People can see what's going on. Yeah, they're called J3, a great bunch of guys. And you can check all of our Facebooks because they're posting stuff on Facebook, and they're going to be
go to the website,
interacting on our Facebook. And people can find out about all of this at stanromanek.com.
Absolutely, at my website, www.stanromanek.com.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks,
You're
Alejandro.
welcome. Thanks for having us again.
Okay, excited about the film. J3films.com is their website if you want to go see more about that. I think they finished all of their shooting, so the documentary should be coming out soon. That's going to be fun. Next week, Michael Horn and a debate on Billy Meyer. Can he convince me back into the Billy Meyer camp? We shall see. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check openminds.tv for the latest in UFO news. Adios, muchachos.